Alright, so we're finally checking back in with the Breakaway movement. It's been almost a year since I made my first video on them called I Joined the Breakaway Movement So You Don't Have To. I'd always intended to make a follow-up video because I still had over 50 pages of notes, and I don't get through all of them here, but I get through at least the ones that I wanted to that were most important. And I also have some like updates about the group and some of the BAM girls' responses to my video. Changes within the platform they've made, into some other fun stuff too. This video hopefully will be a little bit shorter than the other one. I can't make any promises though, and it will be more casual. I'm gonna probably be looking at my computer screen a lot more and reading from there because I don't want to spend 8 hours trying to memorize every line before filming because I don't have the time for that today. So you can definitely just listen to this video if you want. There won't be much on the screen that I won't also be reading out loud. If there is, I'll let you know. So if you have no clue what the Breakaway movement or BAM is, you should definitely watch my first video. I'll link it below, and I'll also link below my real first video in this series of 3, I guess, called Is Kangen Water a Scam? I think that's important to watch before watching BAM Part 1 because it gives a lot of insight into the problems within the company that they are promoting, or the things that the claims that distributors make about the company and its products. Combined, they'll only take you a little over 4 hours to watch those 2 videos, so but I'll give a quick recap for those who need it. BAM is an online training platform and community that teaches people how to start their own online businesses through joining an MLM or multi-level marketing company called Enagic, which sells water ionizing machines that produce what they call Kangen water. BAM is one of the many training platforms for Enagic, none of which are endorsed by or like run by Enagic, and tends to mainly attract young girls who are into New Age spirituality, law of attraction, desire to become entrepreneurs, and usually want to live in Hawaii. An important aspect of Enagic is that it is an MLM. Multi-level marketing is a business structure where salespeople who are classified as independent contractors for a company distribute the company's products or services for them and can also recruit other people into the business to do the same. Other examples of MLMs include Mary Kay, Avon, Herbalife, Young Living, doTERRA, Amway. MLMs appeal to people because they promote that you can work from wherever, whenever, gain community, amazing products, and most importantly, make a ton of money, and you get the freedom that comes with that. And obviously that is very enticing to a lot of people, and that is a central recruitment factor in, I would say, all MLMs. In my opinion, and in the opinions of pretty much anyone who's not in an MLM but has done a lot of research on MLMs, they are very predatory business structures that prey on the vulnerable and leave most people with a lot less money than they started. According to a study done by John M. Taylor, the founder of the Consumer Awareness Institute, 99.6% of people in MLMs lose money. Okay? 99.6% lose money. I believe that they should be banned because most people suffer financially after joining one, and those who don't only were able to do so at the expense of those who did, unfortunately. I 100% have compassion for people who are currently in MLMs and are at the bottom and are struggling, or people who have been in MLMs in the past and have gotten out. My problem is with the higher-ups of MLMs and the MLM companies. Those at the top who are making a lot of money have usually, if not always, done unethical things to get there and caused a lot of harm to people in the process. Whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, it doesn't matter. In my last video, I talked about BAM's backstory, who joins and why, how they entice people to join. I described and showed examples of 19 sales tactics, as well as 6 things that I believe keep people in the movement. I did an analysis of the cult-like behavior of BAM using the BITE model, and an analysis of the financial opportunity of BAM, in which I concluded that it's likely only around 5% of BAM members are making at least 1 sale a month. I talked about the characteristics of people at the top of BAM, how they got there, some conspiracies and pseudoscience promoted in the group, and wrapped it up by talking about why some have left the movement. So that's a little recap on part 1. Somehow that video got over 800,000 views, which I was really surprised by. I kind of thought the 2-hour, 12-minute length would deter a lot of people from even clicking on the video, but I guess not. Many BAM members, well, I had made it public that I was making this video for quite a while, and in my Kong and Water video I did it as well, and then I also had like scheduled the video to be premiered, so many band members became aware of the video pretty quickly. Keep in mind that I gave everyone in the BAM cinematic universe, if you will, fake names. So Reba, Zoe, Becky, Nina, and then 4 other members who I had conversations with, but I never like named them in the video, had blocked me within a week of posting the video. I'm sure others did that I never contacted as well. Blocking people is a very central aspect of MLMs and how MLMers act on social media, so that's not remotely shocking. But what is weird is that absolutely no one, not a single person, reached out to me to defend the movement, which obviously people don't have to do, but like I was kind of shocked not a single person did. I've literally only gotten messages from ex-members or people who are in the group but like skeptical of it or wanting to leave, or they just aren't defending it in any way. Which that was a bummer, because I seriously would have loved to have conversations with people who disagreed with things I said about BAM and the points I made. But I don't really think that many band members would have watched the entire video. That's kind of considered listening to criticism, which isn't super common, although we will go over later. The founder, Aaliyah, has listened to criticism from inside and I believe outside the community as well, so that's good. But also something that was very interesting was that I looked through many more comments on that video than I typically do for videos, probably 1,000 comments, and I can't remember a single person, even in the comments of the video, defending BAM, which has never happened on any video I've ever made. I mean, my most recent video has, I think, less than 50,000 views, a fraction of what the BAM video has, and it's about subliminals, and there's many people defending subliminals. Every single video, there are people defending the main topic, which is normal and, like, understandable. Like, I expect that to happen, but no one was in there defending BAM. I remember only 2 people defending multi-level marketing in general. That's it. Like, that is very strange, and I think really speaks to public perception of the group, and I think that really should be telling that they're kind of almost subjectively in the wrong with a lot of the things that they're doing. And it's like the video got way more views than I have subscribers, so it's not like everyone who watched it was just predispositioned and biased into agreeing with me. I mean, it's just a really strange occurrence. I'm sure people have defended them, and because I haven't read every comment, but like reading 1,000 comments on a video and you don't see a single person defending the topic, that's very rare. Anyways, I do think the founder, Aaliyah, or at least somebody who is employed by BAM, watched the video for a couple of reasons. The first one is that a smaller creator, Celestial Cow, she also made a video about BAM, I think around the same time I made mine, maybe within a couple months, but apparently, according to her, she told me that they copyright struck her video because she used a clip of theirs that she said was only 48 seconds long. I think her video had a couple thousand views, so if they're gonna watch that one, I'm sure they'd watch mine too. Another reason is that I had talked about a video clip that people in the United States were supposed to receive a link to after having a coaching call with Aaliyah's sister, Sharon, where she talks about applying for credit cards in order to be able to finance a Kangen machine, and she encouraged people to lie on the application and say that they were making more money than they actually were, which according to my research is called loan application fraud. They've since removed that video because when I click the link, it just takes me to a ClickFunnels page, so that's good. And the last reason is that they've since made changes in response to criticisms that I know I made in my video, and other creators like Cruel World, Happy Mind made in her video, and maybe like it could have happened from members watching the video and then bringing up concerns to the group. I really don't know, but let's get into some of those. I watched a November 11th combined community and pro call where Aaliyah talked about some lessons that they have learned in the past couple months and years since starting BAM. In the email that I got the link from, they list the main takeaways from that call as being more transparency about what we do and how we do it, more authenticity, more compassion, and lastly, and honestly what I was most appreciative of, but surprised by, okay? I was a little surprised, I will say. Owning that we're in network marketing and proud of it. Aaliyah's Instagram bio even now says, apparently I'm a very successful network marketer. Which is a strange thing to write, but strange is the norm in BAM. Network marketing, if you don't know, is the same thing as multi-level marketing. It's usually used as a euphemism by MLMers because they know that MLM has such a bad rap. So I think, in my opinion, they hope that if they use the term network marketing, they can trick some people into thinking that that's different than multi-level marketing. But it's not, they're synonymous terms. Still, I am really glad that they've learned and acknowledged that they are an MLM because they went to so much effort, despite doing such little research, to explain to their Instagram followers why Enagic is not an MLM. It's so much different than an MLM, so much better. And it was so frustrating to me that I ended up explaining why it is an MLM 3 separate times in my part 1 video because I just wanted to make sure it was really understood, you know? Also, I'm sure it's kind of embarrassing to, like, when you're critics for years. I mean, Aaliyah's been in this for, I think, 5 years. It's gotta be kind of embarrassing to finally admit something that your critics have been telling you all along and you've just said, no, it's not MLM, I promise. I'm kind of guessing that this video that I watched wasn't Aaliyah's, like, first announcement to the community that she changed her stance on Enagic being an MLM, because she didn't sound like she was saying anything new, really. Like, she didn't say that she used to, like, she didn't admit that she used to think it was an MLM, although that's obviously implied by what she was saying. But maybe I'm sure she announced it at some other point, and yeah, overall it was a really good call. I'm glad she took the criticism, whether it was from inside or outside the community, it doesn't matter. I'm glad she listened to it instead of shutting it down and not paying attention to it, and she accepted that there was room for improvement and made changes for herself individually, for the company. It's great. So I want to share some notes I took from the call. I have quite a few. She said she wants to lead with the product because of much of the feedback she's gotten from community members and the videos and posts made about them, which is another indication that, you know, they have been aware of the criticisms made about them from outside the group. She wants people to be more individualized and unique rather than copy and pasting on what they've seen others share. That's another good thing. Like, if you follow a bunch of these people and look through their stories every day, like I did when I first came across the group, it's so repetitive. Like, it's so hard to watch because they're just saying the same thing over and over. They have very similar aesthetics, very similar ways of talking, very similar beliefs. Like, it really does feel like copy and paste, honestly. Again, she said she's so proud to be involved in network marketing. Okay, so when it comes to somebody who is so deep into MLM as she is, or as the other higher ups in BAM are, you know, it's their main source of income and their life literally revolves around it. The entire future dream life that they've created for themselves and have pictured that they want to live relies on this MLM. It's very rare for them to be willing to investigate and acknowledge the problems that exist in multi-level marketing. BAM members used to believe that Enagic was not an MLM, and they went to large efforts to debunk it being multi-level marketing because they believed that MLMs were bad, and they knew others thought the same. But now that that has changed, they have to change their views on MLMs, otherwise they'd be promoting a business while simultaneously saying it's a harmful business. The higher-ups will never educate themselves on why multi-level marketing is a predatory business model. If they did, they would have to just try not to think of it or try to find other ways to debunk or justify it. This MLM is their entire life. They have to defend it. They have to present MLM as this great business opportunity and act like they never used to say the exact opposite. Act like they never used to explain why Enagic was so much better than MLM companies or nothing at all like them. So it's no surprise that Aaliyah would be saying that she's proud to be an MLMer, but it's really nothing to be proud of. It's something to educate yourself on and then get the heck out of ASAP so you're not supporting MLM companies. If we don't support these companies, they obviously can't profit and therefore can't exist. If you don't understand the issue with MLMs or you don't think they're that bad, I'd recommend James Janney's video, Multi-Level Marketing Cults, Lies, Pyramid Schemes, and the Pursuit of Financial Freedom.
The MLM pitch appeals to those that are struggling to make ends meet financially, or those who are young and naive enough to be taken in by the grandeur of the events and the barrage of self-help messages. The controversy that surrounds these companies is endless.
The Federal Trade Commission has already received 170 complaints against the company.
They make you feel guilty.
They will specifically target your insecurities.
An MLM's biggest weapon that they can use against you and that they do use against you is shame.
Another thing Aaliyah talked about was, the workload involved in BAM. She said she's guilty of not being real about the workload involved in network marketing and this business. She thinks so many members believe that if they paint the Enagic/BAM/network marketing picture as easy, they will close more sales, which is true. That's the main selling point. Super easy business. You can do it from wherever, whenever, and you'll make a ton of money. It's just perfect all around. There's no cons to it. It's just the greatest thing ever. So some quotes from her regarding that. The reality is, for me personally, and from what I can see from everyone that I work with closely on a regular basis, is that this is a crap ton of work. We are constantly working for this business. This is a ton of work for me. This has been one of the most busy and exhausting years of my life, but I wouldn't change it for the world. She goes on to say that people talk about working, 1 hour a week and making X amount, and she says, if that's not your truth, I don't think you should be sharing it anymore. Maybe I'm reading into this a little too much, but her using the word anymore kind of implies that she has been aware that there are people sitting here talking about how much they work and how much money they're making from that amount of work and lying about it, right? Isn't that what you get from it too? I mean, it's not uncommon to do that in MLMs, but I did state in the first BAM video that I thought that they were all being truthful about how much money they make because of how out of touch with reality they were. So I guess I was wrong on that. She admits that she has told people on sales calls that they can make X amount in a year because she did it. They can do it too while having kids or another job. So kind of her follow-up to that section was, so yeah, just being more real about the workload, being proud of the workload, and using that as a sales point, how fortunate we are that we are constantly working around the clock for ourselves and for our personal development and our further knowledge, and what a privilege that is. One of her goals this year is to provide more clear, factual information about the water. There's things she's just now learning are not true about active hydrogen and Kangen water. She also wants to provide more info on Enagic compliance and FTC compliance because there's a lot she got wrong about both of those things. While I appreciate her admitting that she got things wrong, it's a bit strange because you might remember the DMs I shared in my part 1 with her, where we talk about what has been, or seemed to have been, BAM members' favorite way of breaking Enagic compliance and FTC guidelines, which is by making income claims. Income claims are just stating how much money you're making from your MLM, and they are not allowed in network marketing. I'll let her explain why this is because she explains it in the video. FTC likes to view everyone on the internet as vulnerable, and they think when we make income claims or promote money, I'm not saying I agree with it, that's for sure, but they believe that when we promote income claims or how much money we're earning with something, that it can be misleading or persuasive to someone who's a vulnerable person on the internet. She thinks it's crazy because if you ask a dentist how much they earn per year, they'd be like, I earn 100K. But for some reason, they don't like network marketers doing it, she says. A simple explanation is that 100% of dentists make money. 99.6% of MLMers lose money. That's why regulatory agencies that are supposed to protect consumers, like the FTC, need to protect potential victims of MLMs, not people looking to become dentists. It's not misleading that somebody could be making 100K as a dentist because that's a very common wage to make in the US at least. It is misleading though to promote that you could be making 100K in an MLM because it's extremely rare. But why this was interesting to me is because she had told me in our DMs that BAM has a lawyer that works under FTC guidelines and keeps a very close eye on what they do. Clearly, this person wasn't giving them the most accurate info. She even said in the video that Enagic contacted her about areas of her website and Instagram that were against the compliance rules. She had a blog post about Kangen water titled Begin to Heal, and Enagic doesn't like when you use the word heal in relation to the water. She also said, there was one Instagram post where I'd written that I made $13,000 in 1 week, and then later wrote in that same Instagram post that sharing Kangen water was my #1 source of income right now. That's an income claim. So I think, to skirt around the rules, what they've been doing is still constantly posting about how much money they make, but they just don't say where the money is coming from. Everyone who follows them knows they're talking about Enagic money, but if you were to send a screenshot of somebody's post or story to Enagic compliance, it wouldn't seem to break compliance because they're not being explicit that it's about Enagic. Instead of learning about why the rules are in place and respecting them, they try to find loopholes so they can maximize their own profit, in my opinion. Nothing has changed in that regard. What I loved about her talking about Enagic contacting her about breaking compliance is that she acted like it was an accomplishment because it meant that she was on Enagic's radar, basically. I mean, I remember watching it before she got to mentioning why they contacted her. I seriously thought she was going to be receiving some kind of award for something or going to be recognized for some level of success, but I think that's how she actually viewed it. She had reached this level of success to where Enagic knew about BAM, and that was something to be proud of. It's not an achievement that people probably reported you to compliance, so they contacted you and asked you to take down posts that broke their rules. The achievement is that the compliance department even exists, because I contacted them June, I think, or no, I contacted them 3 different times. It was March, May, and June of 2020, and they never, to this day, have ever responded. So the achievement is that they exist, you know? I think it's kind of interesting that all these new things she's learning are things that I learned early on in my 7 or so months of research, where she's been with Enagic for over 5 years and clearly just listened to what other people told her and never actually did her own research, because it's truly super easy to find out that Enagic is an MLM. That's not a hidden fact, it's very obvious. That's why I find it really ironic when the top dogs of BAM tell outsiders and critics to do their own research on multi-level marketing and Enagic and Kangen water and ionization and blah blah blah. It's we're the ones doing the research for you. You guys are doing one-sided research, which consists of opening links provided by the company BAM or your upline. That's not research. Anyways, that's the main update. They're super proud to be MLM. Aaliyah is so proud to be MLM that she never used the word MLM or multi-level marketing in the entire call, from what I can remember. Only stuck to the euphemism network marketing. That's how proud she is about it. They did also send out an email where they call Zoe and Molly boss babes in the subject line, so I think they're gradually embracing MLM culture. But for the most part, like I said, I appreciate her willingness to listen to criticism, talk about it in the community. I am nosy, so I really would have loved to know what people's reactions were to her first coming out and saying that she had changed her stance on Enagic being an MLM. It must have been a confusing day for many. Lots and lots of posts needed to be deleted, that I can guarantee. I mean, people were out there making 10-minute long IGTV videos about why it wasn't an MLM. So, if you know what the community reaction was, please DM me. I'm super curious. So now let's move on from the community call and look at some other things from after I made my video and other things that I couldn't fit into it. So I want to quickly mention that there are actually a few top dogs who don't really seem to be selling Kangen that much anymore, or at least they're promoting it or promoting the business side of it. Allie, Anita, and Brianna are the ones that I've noticed don't really, they don't have anything related to Kangen or any training platforms in their Instagram bios, and they're not really posting about it. I'm not sure why that is for any of them, because I had no interest in scrolling through all their posts to see if they ever mentioned it, but I am still going to be including a couple things in here about some of them, because their past actions are still representative of kind of the culture in BAM and MLMs. So one update is that BAM has gotten into the YouTube game. Don't go to the channel and comment or dislike, but they have videos from different, generally non-top dog members talking about various subjects. They started that channel in March and have 350 subscribers, so most people in BAM aren't even subscribed. I didn't write this down, so this is memory combined with hearsay, so you can take it with a grain of salt. If I'm saying something's hearsay, please always take it with a grain of salt. But I did speak to somebody who was once in BAM at a certain point, and they told me that BAM had decided to create this channel in hopes that their videos would get pushed to the top of search results on YouTube instead of the critical videos of them. If that's true, it hasn't worked yet. I mean, I'm looking on my phone right now. If you type in Breakaway movement, it comes up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 critical videos, and then finally their channel. Yeah, it's not really working yet. Journalists from The Atlantic and Business Insider are or were supposed to be writing articles about BAM, but I don't know, because like I think the Business Insider one of the journalists originally contacted me back in November, and then the other in December of last year. So it's like, I don't know if it just takes people or journalists a long time to write articles, or if they change their minds and aren't writing them anymore, but I haven't seen them yet. As far as I'm aware, they're probably not going to be in support of BAM, which is unsurprising. On July 3rd of this year, a journalist published an article about BAM on metro.co.uk, which is actually the highest circulation newspaper in the UK, and the article is called "The Influencer MLM Peddling More Than an Insta-Perfect Life." I would read some interesting things from that article. That's kind of like new information that I never knew about, except in my opinion, nothing in the article can be deemed trustworthy because they bring up my video and they quote things that I supposedly said from it, except everything was intentionally misquoted. Like, there's no way it could have been an accident. They had like kind of three separate quotes from me, and then I also misquoted a girl who I shared at the end who had left BAM. And so I reached out to the journalist, and she said that the editor had changed much of what she'd written, except after I like listed the things that they got wrong. She never responded, so I don't know who did the misquoting, but I'll provide you an example of the worst one, where they mash up things like three separate things that I said, make it sound like I said it all at once, and then they add in new things and take out other things. So what I actually said in the video was, misinformation is rampant because they aren't interested in doing proper research themselves and instead prefer to just regurgitate information from within the community. I also actually say in the video, their trainings really aren't that revolutionary, and what they're actually doing to make money is really easy to spot and replicate. You know, you don't have to join a platform and pay someone to tell you. They quote me as saying, their training isn't revolutionary like they say, it's manipulative. And then lastly, referring to people who may join BAM, I actually said in the video, they'll start talking differently, they'll start acting differently, and they probably won't want to hear anything that would challenge their perception of the group. And they twist that into ... because they continue this on from the other thing as if it was all one sentence. And anyone who joins may start talking differently, acting differently, and be adverse to hearing anything negative about the group. All signs of emotional manipulation. Like, again, they just literally said that I said things were manipulative 2 different times in the same sentence when I said neither of those things. It makes me so mad. Like, if they want to insert that they believe those are signs of emotional manipulation, like, go for it, I don't care. But why would they pretend like those were my words? It's so unethical. If you read that article, I would not trust a single word of it. And then also, Krill World Happy Mind, who's made a video on BAM, she also has 2 videos talking about the journalist and an article that they published from The Atlantic, who is or was, I don't know, going to be publishing an article about BAM. And that journalist, based on her videos, didn't seem like the greatest either, but I don't know, what can you do? So another interesting thing about the Atlantic article is that BAM talked about it in one of their like weekly kind of newsletter email things. I don't know. I still get them, but I assume most people who get them are people who are still in the movement. They say, hey BAM fam, we want to share with you all what we believe will be the next BAM spotlight in the press, so that if/when you see it yourself, you are prepared and not caught off guard by what you read. They share 3 of the reporters' previous articles, and they say, While it is clear that she is opposed to multi-level marketing, we are grateful for her reaching out to us and asking for our input before any article is public. We are very aware that there is a good chance this article will not speak highly of us, but we are okay with that and stand strong in what we are creating here with all of you. And then it says, below is an exact copy and paste of the responses that I sent in regards to her questions. I'm not going to read those, obviously. But the interesting part of this is that after all these questions, there's like this image in there that I'll put up on the screen if you want to see it. It says, Breakaway Movement X the Atlantic. Like as if they're collabing. Like that's what people do when they're collabing with a company on YouTube. Like a beauty guru collabing with a makeup brand. They do whoever X the company. And I was like, what is going on? They're sitting here saying that this is probably not going to be like a positive article, but then they're acting like they're collabing. Like, why did they make this image? And so I actually contacted the reporter and she said, no, this isn't a collab, that would be highly unethical. And so it's just really strange that they, like, can someone please, if you know why they would have made this, if what this means, why they put this image together, like this is some kind of like collab, like that's the only, it's like you do this when you collab, that's the only word I can use to describe it. Why did they do this? I don't know, but it's so weird and kind of funny. Okay, something I need to talk about, this is great. BAM came up with a name for what they consider to be their core team of professionally trained sales and support people, and it is the cultiest name I swear they could have thought of. They're literally calling them the Breakaway Movement Inner Circle. I mean, every time I think of that, I can't stop laughing. They have no, like, do they have no awareness for how that sounds? Inner circle. Inner circle. Come on. I mean, if they are self-aware, I don't know, like maybe they're just doing that as kind of like a meme. Like they're making fun of the fact that people consider them to be culty. So they're like, oh, let's make a culty name just for fun. Like, if that's the explanation, then okay, that's kind of funny. But like, what? Speaking of being culty, I spoke to a girl who I think either her or her friend went to the 2019 Maui retreat, and this is from a long time ago, I know, but it's still funny, okay? She, in an audio message to me, she said, and this is just alleged, okay, but it's hilarious if true. The Breakaway Movement, when they had their Maui retreat, the cops got called on them when they were doing breath work because people thought they were in a cult. I'll put some pictures on the screen. I have one of Aaliyah and Pat, and another of Brianna and some guy, I don't know who, sitting up on a platform in front of everyone in chairs that look like thrones, and it does look a little culty. So what's something that goes nicely with culty stuff? Conspiracies and pseudoscience. So let's get into some more of that. Many of them are still avid COVID conspiracy theorists, which is kind of what you'd guess based on their lack of effort that they put into researching things. I also just wanted to quickly mention that as I was editing this video on August 6th, I went to all of their Instagrams, which I hadn't done for a while, like mainly the higher ups, the people who I followed previously, and like looked through their stories, and almost every single one of them, like all of the ones that live on Hawaii, were all at this anti-vax or like anti-vax mandate type protest in some Hawaiian island. So I just wanted to bring that up because it's relevant. So in my last video I talked about creators of like other platforms that are basically offshoots of BAM, because I kind of want to demonstrate that it's not just like Breakaway Movement and all the other Enagic training platforms are just like perfect. Like they're all kind of like weird a little bit, and it's also relevant because all these people who founded these other things used to be in BAM. So you have like Free Life Movement, Know Your Why, We Soul Rich, Nomad Emporium, Conscious Creators Ohana, that's what I want to talk about right now. So the founders of that, Ellie and Anne, in part one I refer to them as the Pseudoscience Queens. They really are. I found this screenshot I had taken from way at the beginning of the pandemic where Anne shared a message she had gotten from someone saying, "Good news! Wuhan's CV can be cured itself by a bowl of freshly boiled garlic water. The old Chinese doctor proved its effectiveness, improved and cured overnight." And Anne replied, Love it. I love getting messages like these, #awakening, #holistic health. I just get such secondhand embarrassment reading that. I mean, you have to be extremely gullible and uninformed to believe something that ridiculous and just share it on social media like that. Ellie, the other founder of CCO, posted more recently, "Tell us again how the virus escapes a level 4 biolab, but it can be stopped with a homemade cheetah print mask." If after like 1.5 years of a pandemic you still don't understand what masks do, you're probably just not gonna get it no matter how many times people explain it to you. So ex-band member Clarice, founder of We Soul Rich, who is different from the rest in that she's not into law of attraction stuff anymore, due to her thinking, I believe, that it's demonic, and she has turned into a Christian extremist. I don't know how much of this I can say on YouTube without getting demonetized, but she used to have a Q slogan in her Instagram bio, so she's very far out there. She posted this in the past couple months. "Does anyone have links/research on the effects of vaxxed people touching your baby?" I don't trust the government, the vaccine, Satan, and I really do believe there is an agenda to make us all infertile. You know, maybe somebody does have an agenda to make us infertile. I can't say for sure, but I have been taking a social problems college course this summer, and one of the things we talked about in it was aging populations, and just kind of the negative effects that aging populations have on society, which is where like the proportion of like older people compared to young people is very unbalanced, and there's like not enough young people to support the older people who are retired in terms of like social security and whatever. So I find it kind of impractical for people who are educated on that kind of issue, who would likely be in government making decisions that would make us all infertile. I just don't find it very plausible because it wouldn't be good for society for everyone to stop having kids, because then there wouldn't be enough young working age people, to support the retired people financially. I mean, I don't know why I'm explaining that as if like most people are gonna agree with her on that. Anyways, something I shared in my Kangen video on the screen but didn't read out loud is this fascinating fact that a band member posted in February or early March of 2020, when the CV was still relatively new. She writes, "Did you know that the chemicals in store-bought hand sanitizers are more dangerous for you than the virus itself? Even corona." Let's all take a moment of silence for all our lost loved ones due to hand sanitizer. I'm not saying there have never been or are not any dangerous chemicals in any store-bought hand sanitizers, but like saying that they're more dangerous than the CV, which has killed millions of people in a year and a half, I don't think she'd be able to provide a source for that claim. Call me crazy, but like I just don't think she knows what she's talking about. I also have to bring up the fact that a lot of people are out here acting like chemicals are bad. And I hate that I have to say this because this could shatter a lot of band members' entire worldviews, but a chemical is any substance that consists of matter, okay? We can't exist without chemicals. They are not inherently bad. There are some that are bad, there are some that aren't. But saying chemicals are bad, you gotta stop, okay? Okay, now onto some fun woo-woo stuff. They once brought on somebody to a December 19th community call who referred to themselves as a multi-dimensional oracle, and she says that her soul originated from the Andromeda galaxy. She said she has experiences going into meditation and having conversations with angels as if they were right in front of me, and having conversations with, beings like Ganesh or Jesus or Mother Mary as if they were right in front of me. She says she has access to many different multi-dimensional realms and works with energy channels that run through the earth. Since she was 3 in her crib, she was going into different celestial realms, star systems, and has been on starships, which are energetic manifestations of higher dimensions. They have non-physical beings in them like Pleiadians and Andromedans. Brianna then comes on and mentions that she completely believes that she has traveled to another dimension during a plant medicine ceremony. The woman tells Brianna that if you think you've traveled to another dimension, then you definitely have. Lastly, in this section, I want to share some things that the first BAM girl I was in contact with told me, which is what, like, this document, this information that I'm about to tell you, this stuff that she said to me is literally what convinced me, okay, I 100% need to do a video on this, on BAM and Enagic. So in Instagram DMs, she had asked me to send some links regarding claims made about the water not being true after I had brought that up. So I sent her ones to skeptoid.com, a chemistry website ran by a retired chemistry professor, WebMD, sciencebasedmedicine.org, and the Molecular Hydrogen Institute. So she emailed me her response, and these are the things, some of the things that she wrote. And it's just like, yikes. A lot of people writing the articles you provided are being paid to do so. When I responded to her, I wrote out a ton of stuff and she never responded to that, so she didn't explain how she knows that or any of this, unfortunately, but it's still an interesting mindset to look at, I think. Kangen water vibrates on an extremely high frequency that will decalcify our pineal glands and bring our bodies back into natural harmony. This is why people are being paid to write untrue articles regarding the water. The pharmaceutical industry makes millions of dollars each year off of people being sick, and they do not want people discovering this water, healing themselves, and waking up spiritually, because when we're in this state, we are not as easily controlled as a population. Anyone who believes in these articles without actually trying the water first are not aligning with the water's frequency. Those who are unable to align with the frequency of the water find themselves doubting its healing properties or have trouble understanding how it works. I have recently learned from a show called Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia TV that the science we currently use is extremely outdated. Learning that science is outdated from Gaia TV is the epitome of not being educated on how to conduct proper research. I sent her articles written by a retired chemistry professor. The Skeptoid one, admittedly, is the least reliable of the sources I sent, but WebMD, sciencebasedmedicine.org, and the Molecular Hydrogen Institute, which is literally a scientific organization that has a goal of promoting hydrogen research. Molecular hydrogen is something that is produced in Kangen machines. This organization is not in any way against ionizers, but she knows that a lot of those 5 resources I sent, the people that wrote them, they were paid by the pharmaceutical industry, so they're not to be trusted. But you know who you should trust? Gaia TV. I've been considering making a video on them, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. But if we're gonna, just make baseless assertions for who's paying who to say what, then I'm going to say that Gwyneth Paltrow paid Gaia TV to say that the science we use is currently outdated so that she could make more money on her Goop website. And if you don't believe me, then you're just a sheep. Anyways, the girl goes on to say, the last thing I want to make clear is that if you read through all of these articles and still do not resonate with the frequency of the water, then there is nothing more I can do to convince you. You need to use your intuition. My intuition tells me that this water is on a higher quantum level of existence. Well, you want to know what? My intuition tells me that this person does not have enough of an understanding of quantum stuff for her intuition to be able to tell her anything about what level of quantum existence anything is on, or even what that means. I want to recommend a video called Quantum Mysticism is Stupid by Professor Dave Explains. Please watch this if you use quantum physics to explain mystical or metaphysical beliefs, or if you're just like tired of the people that do that and want to hear somebody who's actually educated on physics talk about the topic. That was a really good video. One sales tactic I didn't talk about in my last video is making challenge groups and then like throwing in a sales pitch at the end once you've built up trust and connection with people. The reason I didn't talk about this is because I have 3 examples of people using this. I have Aaliyah, Macy, and Karen. Karen's name is not meant to imply that she is a Karen, but those are 3 people who have been in BAM and who have done challenge groups in order to sell certain things to people. But the thing is, they never did it to get people into BAM, so that's why I didn't talk about it in the other video, but it is still relevant because these are all related to BAM in different ways. So first off, Aaliyah has promoted doing this in a video that is on the BAM platform called BAM Social Media Training Video, something like that. So that's why it's relevant, because she is promoting this to people who are signed up for BAM and watching the videos. So long ago when Aaliyah was in another MLM, I'm not sure which one it was, but based on what she says, what I'm going to kind of go through, it sounds like Beachbody or something like that. She made a free 21-day vegan challenge Facebook group. She says, I remember specifically picking, okay, I want a number, I want a certain amount of people to make it sound exclusive, and I really hope to fill up this number. I think 12 or 14 people at the time. I think the first group, I had 3 people sign up, so I was like, alright, little bit of panic mode. I hit up all my best friends from home and said, you guys, like, I'm hosting this 21-day challenge group for veganism on Facebook. I didn't have people sign up. Can you please join it? I just want to fill it to 14 people. At the time, she was diving into holistic health coaching through IIN, Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and was in another MLM and wanted to be selling these home workout videos and these protein powders, she says. So very low key. Without being aggressive or in people's faces, I would just share that I was eating these protein powders in my breakfast smoothie every morning, and 4 days a week I was doing these home workout videos with this company. I wouldn't even really say that I'm a distributor or I sell them, which, looking back on it, maybe I could have been more clear about it. But I was just focusing on establishing these really beautiful, meaningful connections with these people who she was lying by a mission to, primarily women, so that they would feel totally comfortable and cool hitting me up and being like, hey, what's that home workout video you're doing? Like, do you like it? Are you noticing results? Do you know where I can get it, or can I order it online? And that's when I would say, yeah, absolutely. Like, I work for the company, so you can order through my link and I'll get affiliate commission and you can get a discount off whatever. Then after the challenge group, she would give them all her email if they wanted to work with her. And she also says that's how she got health coaching clients at first. Kind of slimy in my opinion, and she seems to even realize that by saying, like, maybe she could have been more clear about the fact that she was like trying to sell these protein powders to these people. I've also spoken to a girl who bought a machine from Karen a few years ago. At this point, Karen would not have been in BAM yet. I don't think. I'm pretty sure she was in Global Affiliate Zone, which is another training platform that's like 2 above BAM. Like, somebody who is in Global Affiliate Zone branched out and started CEO Movement, and then Aaliyah was in CEO Movement and she branched out and started BAM. So the girl got a friend request from Karen and on Facebook, and then eventually saw Karen's story of going from an unhappy model to a super happy girl living in Hawaii, loving life and making a ton of money. And the girl at the time had just lost her job, so she says that she was captivated by Karen's perfectly procured journey. She at some point received a message on Facebook from Karen saying that she was building a women's tribe and wanted people who were serious about seeking a life of abundance and success. The girl joined, and there were about 25 to 30 other people in the group who had to schedule calls with her to see if they were the right fit, and then she encouraged them to create what I'm assuming was a Global Affiliate Zone account to view information about starting a business, and you had to pay $100 for that. This is when the girl started to see red flags and asked Karen if she was with Enagic, since she was very intentional never to actually say the name of the company, which is something that I know that Global Affiliate Zone did encourage. She ended up not signing up, but Karen would still hit her up every couple weeks to see if she could get that sale. Karen is the only BAM member that I know of that utilizes cold messaging, which is an MLM sales tactic where you just message random people with kind of like there's usually like a message template. Hey hun, I have this amazing business opportunity for you, blah blah blah. And what's super interesting is that Karen had actually cold messaged me, of all people, back in September of 2019. I didn't start like researching BAM until January of 2020. So at this point she would have been in BAM, because BAM started in August, September time. But I had no clue what BAM was. I'd never heard of Breakaway Movement. I'd never heard of Enagic or Water. It's September of 2019, I don't think. And so when she messaged me, I didn't go to her profile, didn't know anything about anything, and didn't realize it until I was messaging people last year so that I could, get some intel for my video. And I noticed that when I went to Karen's profile that she followed me, and for some reason she still to this day follows me. But she followed me, and so I clicked on like the message button, and we had already had a conversation. And so this is how it went. She said, "I love your account, goddess. Thank you for radiating the abundance vibes." Which is, it's funny because goddess is nice, but it's a little over the top, kind of fake. It seems like a small example of love bombing to me, which is a commonplace thing in MLMs, where basically you're just kind of overly lovey-dovey, and it's kind of a sales tactic in a sense, or a tactic to keep people in the MLMs. Anyways, the girl I was just talking about also showed me screenshots of her conversation with Karen, and she had called her a goddess too. I just think it's a little too much. But I guess it's better than hey hun. And also it was weird because my account was just like quotes at the time, but I don't think they really had anything to do with abundance, especially not like what she would consider abundance, because I've never been into that like getting rich, kind of spirituality. So I'm not sure where she got the abundance vibes from, but apparently I radiated them. Anyways, I said, "Thank you, I'm glad you like it." And this is where it became unusual. She said, "You're welcome. I'd love to get to know you more. What are the top 3 things that make you happy? That's my current favorite question to ask people." I just remember thinking that was such an odd thing to say, because it's like, yeah, people normally come across my YouTube channel and they'll DM me on Instagram and may ask me questions like, "What are your favorite books?" But it's like normal things that you'd say in a conversation with people, The way she spoke was just so like formal and weird, and it was kind of like she was interviewing me. I just never had anyone like talk to me in that way, so at the time of reading it I just thought it was really weird, but I didn't go to her account or anything, like I said. So I responded, "That's a good question, but I honestly couldn't answer it, haha, I'm not sure." She sent back an audio clip where she pretty much said like, "Oh, it's okay, it took her forever to get her top 3, it can definitely be hard, but if I ever think of them I should let her know." And so I said, "Thank you, I will." And now I'm so bummed that I didn't think of anything, so I could see where her sales pitch went. Oh well. And then lastly, Macy, the founder of the Free Life movement. I'm pretty sure she did some Facebook groups back when she was in her previous MLM called Juice Plus. But her and another girl who we'll call Jenny, this is a new person. I never talked about her in the last video, but this is kind of a long example because they say a lot of problematic stuff. So they're both health coaches, and they did a November 24th, 2019 community call back when they were both in BAM. Macy, I don't believe, is in BAM anymore. But they offered this challenge group that they had created called 31 Days of High Vibrations and Healing, based on the protocols of medical medium, who is the very controversial figure behind the celery juice craze. He has no education whatsoever. He is not a medical professional, not a scientist, dietitian, nutrition, not even a health coach. I mean, he's nothing. I don't think he's ever even been to college. But he claims to have the ability to read people's conditions and tell them what's wrong with them and how to get better. So he's like a psychic medium, hence the name medical medium. I've already talked about this in my video called The Influencer Coach Epidemic, so if you've seen that video and you don't want to hear it again, you can just skip to the end of this chapter. In this call, Macy and Jenny talked about their health journeys, they talked about medical medium and his beliefs and what he promotes and whatever, and then they offered the challenge group at the end, which was only for band members to join. And the page that they linked was like hosted by the Breakaway movement platform. I'm not sure what the right terminology for it is, but basically if you scrolled all the way to the bottom of it, it had the Breakaway movement logo in like the bottom banner. And then also they said that Richard, who's the guy that has been doing the tech stuff for BAM, last time I checked, helped them make the site. And so in this call and just on the landing page for the challenge group, they share some very troubling stuff. Keep in mind the reason this is relevant is because this was allowed to be uploaded to the BAM platform. This is one of their community calls. This information is being allowed by the Breakaway movement to be shared to its members. And I mean, last time I had access to it, it was still there. Maybe they've taken it down since that time, but I highly doubt it because I know that Aaliyah is a fan of medical medium and probably agrees with every single thing that these people have said. And it starts out bad and then it just gets so much worse. It's so bad. This is actually one of the worst things about Breakaway movement, but I wanted to talk about that in the video because it's very important, the first video, but it really didn't fit in anywhere. But this is extremely harmful stuff to be promoting, and I've literally, like, I don't know, I've kind of become more emotional in the last couple of years, and I've literally cried about this. Most people probably won't, but I did. Okay. Here's what Macy and Jenny, who are not doctors, not dietitians, just health coaches. Health coaches are supposed to support and help people towards their health goals. Here's what they listed as being included in the group that they created based on the protocols of medical medium. So, medical medium healing recipes, foods to avoid, foods to include more of, in depth and why, daily routine for those who want optimal results, information about different pathogens and bacteria that are causing millions to suffer, Epstein-Barr virus, shingles, streptococcus, herpes, the truth behind chronic illness and how to properly heal from within, little alarming, how to actually get rid of acne for good, insight on quality supplements for healing and why they're so important, a lot of incredible information doctors don't yet have tests for, and guidance on why people who have exhausted their options still feel sick. Further down the website page, they say, this group is especially important if you suffer with ADHD, adrenal fatigue, autism, acne, autoimmune disease, candida, chronic fatigue syndrome, depression and anxiety, diabetes, digestive disorders, Lyme's disease, menopausal symptoms, migraines, multiple sclerosis, PTSD, thyroid disorders. So they're very obviously implying that this group could help with all those things, which is not good. First of all, it's very dangerous to suggest that your challenge group can help with very serious things like diabetes, multiple sclerosis, PTSD. I know they don't have evidence for that. I know it. They're just listening to what medical medium says, and he's not exactly a science enthusiast, okay? And I don't think they are either. For example, there is no scientific evidence support adrenal fatigue being real. According to Harvard Health, the Endocrine Society, which is the world's largest organization of endocrinologists, and Mayo Clinic, all of whom, Jenny and Macy, I guarantee they think they have no clue what they're doing. Harvard Health, oh, they're paid by the pharmaceutical industry. They don't have a clue what's going on. We do. We know all these things. Doctors don't have tests for these, but we know all of them because medical medium said so in his book. Sorry, I'm getting worked up already, and we're not even to the bad part yet. Here's some quotes from the community call. Jenny says, doctors, we don't mean to discredit them at all, because they're obviously very compassionate. They went to school for all these years to help people. It's just not their fault that what they were taught is not really the truth. Regarding women, Macy says, we have a lot of stuff going on in our bodies that medical doctors don't even necessarily know exists right now. And that's kind of where medical medium comes from. He comes from a lot of stuff that the medical field doesn't have tests for right now. She continues on by saying, the reason that it's so important to follow his protocols is because medical science does not have the tests for these pathogens in different types of organs. Macy had strep throat a lot as a kid, so she's essentially an expert on it, and says, basically streptococcus, which is the bacteria that causes strep throat, is actually immune to antibiotics. It's been immune for a very long time, and doctors don't know that yet because there's no actual test to really test that. There's no way to test it, but we know it's true. That is like the foundation of pseudoscience. Referring to medical medium's protocols, Jenny says, even if you're someone who doesn't obtain to every single thing in his protocol, but you do celery juice religiously every day, you're gonna heal a lot of things with just that alone. You're gonna experience detoxing, glowing skin, less bloating, better mood. better digestion, better sleep, better mental clarity. If you suffer from like brain fog, a lot of that will diminish really quickly for you. These are just some things that if you're consistent with it, I know that you will experience within just 30 days. Now, I place the emphasis on some of those words, but she says all those things as if they are 100% true. That's not how diet works, and I don't need to have any qualifications, any expertise to say that, because it's common sense. Like, you can't just say, if you do this, this 100% will happen. Okay? This psychic medium says to do this, so if you do this, yep, you'll get this, you'll get that, I know you'll get that. Alright, I saved the worst for last. This is the one that makes me extremely upset and makes me tear up most times I read it, but I'll try to spare the tears in this video. So, this quote from Jenny it's absolutely appalling that the Breakaway movement would allow this to remain on their website, to be promoted to their members, because it is extremely dangerous information. And unfortunately, I do think there are many people in BAM who would not see this as dangerous information, because to most people it's obvious how extremely dangerous it is. But I think because of the type of mindsets that a lot of BAM members have, and because a lot of them are into alt med stuff like this, it really worries me that they will actually agree with her. So Jenny talks about Medical Medium's Liver Rescue book and says, anytime I'm going through anything, I open that book up and I'm good. Like, everything in terms of, if you're going through acne, or you're going through gout, you're going through IBS, you're going through some sort of cancer, you're going through liver issues. Literally in the back of the book, he has all different types of supplements. I'm talking like cat's claw, ashwagandha, like all these different types of supplements, and exactly how much to take of each one. So it's like you really don't need to go to the doctors anymore for stuff like that. You can kind of figure out your own stuff on your own terms. She is literally telling people that they don't need to seek medical help if they have IBS or liver issues or cancer. They don't have to go to the doctor for that. They should take the herbal supplements that a self-proclaimed psychic medium with literally no scientific or medical education, who is literally not even allowed to practice medicine, just take the herbal supplements that he recommends. Don't go to the doctor. Just figure out stuff on your own terms. If you have cancer, that is not okay. Like, that is so dangerous to promote to a group of mainly younger people who are into alt med stuff, who, no offense, quite honestly, are not the best at critical thinking. I'm not saying all BAM members can't think critically, but it's a large portion, and it's not okay that Breakaway is continuing to allow this to be on their platform. I don't know if that affects people as much as it affects me. I mean, I first watched that community call over a year ago, close to probably a year and a half ago, and it still just affects me so much. It makes me so sad that they're promoting that. So I figured let's move into something a little less heavy. Talk about Bandwagon. That's something I talked about in the last video. I just want to say a little something on it. So they still are using celeb testimonials to promote the water, even though Enagic says that they're not supposed to. But it's like, what I find funny about this is that some of the celebrities out here that are drinking Kangen water and that they're promoting as like these like awesome like athletes, for example, that are drinking Kangen water. This might be shocking, but some of them are into bizarre pseudoscience too. Tom Brady is one of the people who they list as an athlete who drinks Kangen water, and I'm not trying to cherry pick him of all people, but I did just happen to come across this post on Instagram about him while I was sitting in front of my computer procrastinating, writing the script of this video, okay? I haven't posted a video in 2 months. I was doing a lot of procrastinating, and one of the things I was doing, scrolling Instagram, and I come across this post, and it fits perfectly with this video. I saw this post where it shows some news headlines about him, such as Tom Brady says drinking water prevents sunburns. And ignore Tom Brady, 37 glasses of water a day is too much. In the spirit of BAM, I chose not to fact check this. I don't know if Tom Brady actually said these things or if this is just kind of a meme, but I don't care. I'm just gonna accept them as true. Speaking of not fact checking, here's some things that BAM members have said or shared that when fact checked by me, no fact was found. So, Karen posted a clip more recently in the past couple months from one of the calls where a woman is talking about Kangen water in a bit of a woo-woo way. A quick fun thing first that highlights lack of critical thinking skills in some people is that she says,
maybe you don't know this yet, but financial abundance and water have a huge connection. Have you ever thought about the language that we use and the verbiage and terminology and the things that we say and how that correlates, and people don't really get it? And then I'll list off the terms: cash flow, right? Currency, streams of income, liquid assets.
This is not the first time I've seen somebody try to tie money to water with the words currency and current. I have an old screenshot of a higher up Alyssa's Instagram story where she shares some group chat messages and someone says, money is currency. Currency requires a current, which is movement. When money, like water, stays stagnant, it dies. The flow ceases to exist. First of all, neither money nor water are living, and therefore cannot die. I don't know what the heck she's talking about. Like, stagnant water is not dead or alive, it's non-living. And these other things that the other person lists are all just things that apply to the English language. Like, in the majority of other languages, currency does not sound like the words current and sea. Okay? Also, the words flow and stream and liquid can apply to water for sure, but like also other things that aren't water, other kinds of liquids, you know? There's no huge connection between financial abundance and water because of 4 English phrases. Anyways, Karen then puts her own text on top of the stories saying that 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. And you know, my intuition just told me that I should check if that's a fact or not. So I listened to my intuition and I looked up the phrase, and there are many articles actually and blog posts with that phrase as the title. So I clicked on and read so many of them, and not a single one ever gave a source for it. From my research, and also based on what the person who runs nutritionovereasy.com found, these claims can all be traced back to a 2013 segment on a CBS affiliate in Miami, where they also never gave a source for it. Either they just said it was according to new research. So I decided to look up 75% Americans dehydrated on PubMed, and the first result was the only that appeared to even be relevant to that quote. And in it, the author writes, according to the lay press, 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. While this is not supported by medical literature, dehydration is common in elderly patients. Please do not take health and medical advice from people who just hear stuff on the internet, whether it's from, I don't know where the heck Karen heard that from, or from medical medium, a psychic medium. Please don't just listen to people who just hear something and run with it without doing their own independent research. And I promise you, most people in BAM, at least the majority of the higher ups, they do not do independent two-sided research. It's just one-sided. Here's another example of that. Iris shared a post from someone in another MLM that says 80% of women who make a 6-figure income do it through multi-level marketing. Now, if you're familiar with MLMs, that might make you giggle a little bit because that doesn't even come close to something that could be possible. Macy also posted a story where she said, direct sales is a business structure that has been around forever. It's not going anywhere, and it accounts for over 80% of female 6-figure earners. I'll try and find the research I read on that and share. I'm not sure if she ever got around to reading that research again, or for the first time, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. I messaged the person in the original post that Karen had made, and she never responded to me. I could only find 2 websites that even brought up this statistic related to 80% female, 6-figure earners, multi-level marketing. Like, I searched a bunch of different search terms and I could only ever find 2 websites that brought it up. One just mentioned that MLMers claim it, didn't say anything about the validity of it, and the other was someone posting a picture of an MLMer saying it onto the anti-MLM subreddit. The top comment is someone saying, the actual statistic is, of the people who earn more than $100,000 a year in network marketing, 82% are women. Now, I couldn't find the research on that either, so I don't know if it's true, and I'm not putting it out there as true. But based on the fact that MLM is a female-dominated industry, that is quite a bit more plausible than the other version of the 80% stat, which is in no way factual. There is literally no way that 80% of the women in the world that make 6 figures do it through multi-level marketing. That is absolutely ridiculous if you know anything about multi-level marketing. Next, let's get into talking about money some more. First, I want to make sure you remember, you're familiar with the fact that many of these folks obsess over money. They say sometimes, oh, it's not really about the money, it's all about the freedom that comes with financial abundance. No. They care, I'm sure they care about the freedom that comes with it, but they also, I personally believe, care about the money itself and the status that comes along with being wealthy and living an extravagant life and having people view them as rich and all that, just as much as the freedoms, in my personal opinion. If they didn't, then they would just talk about the freedoms, but no, they talk about money all the time. They're always showing their checks and saying, oh, I made this much. If it's all about the freedoms that come from money, then why aren't you showing the freedoms solely and not showing money? No, you're not, because they obsess over the money and they also use it as a sales tactic. Something the higher ups say that I think is kind of funny is that they're always like, I just made X amount of money in X amount of time and I have X amount more coming. Okay? Why on earth are they constantly checking how much money they're making and calculating it all up? Okay, I just made this amount of money, so I'm going to be getting this amount in checks. Like, if they're making as much as they say they do, which is 5-figure months, blah, 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 why do you need to be checking how much money you have on the way? That's something that you need to do if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or if you are obsessed with how much money you're making, okay? A screenshot I have had for a while is someone who went to the Hawaii retreat saying that retreat helped me realize that our business is not just about becoming financially free and traveling the world. It's about breaking free from the confines that society tries to keep us within, doing what feels good to us, being surrounded and supported continually by a like-minded community. Not about helping others, not about the water. Maybe she'll realize that at the next retreat. In Brianna's February 16th community call, she told this story. Yesterday, Reba and I were swimming, and we were in the ocean, and she had mentioned that she looked at all her bank accounts, and this was the most money she's ever had to her name right now, which is so exciting, which just gets me so pumped up. And I was like, yo, that is so dope. And we started doing backstrokes in the water, and we were pretending that we were swimming in a sea of our bank account of all the money we have. And then this morning again, we went for a dip, and I was like, yo, this is literally our bank accounts right now. Like, every time I go into the ocean, because that's something I love to do, and it just puts me in a place of allowing and imagining that I'm swimming in my bank account. And someone posted in the Facebook group that they had a dream where they were swimming around and kept finding money underwater. And there's plenty more examples that you might remember from my last video. And so despite it being so obvious how obsessed with money the higher ups are and how just monetarily driven and focused they are, sometimes they'll also pretend like caring about money is somehow a problem. Back when I was messaging a bunch of BAM people, I was asking a couple people how long it took them to make their investments back, and one of my favorite responses was from someone who I didn't talk about in my last video and is going to remain unnamed, but she is or was friends with Aaliyah. So she says to me, I see why you're asking this question, but I have some reservations answering for a number of reasons. Everything I'm going to say is truthfully not intended to be hurtful in any way. If you're worried about the investment, I would reevaluate your money mindset. By being so concerned with the dollar amount, you are coming from a place of lack, of scarcity. If you come from a place of lack, you will stay in a place of lack. If you are doing this for monetary gain, you will not have success within this business. And that's such an interesting thing to say. Almost all of the higher-ups have made it very clear that money is their number one priority and has been from the get-go. They talk about it more than anything else. They were doing it for monetary gain and did still see financial success. Like, how can you sit there and tell people not to do it for monetary gain when that is BAM's main selling factor, is how much money you can make from it? She went on to say, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a change-your-life scheme. Lastly, we're not really supposed to make financial claims on Instagram. And I gotta congratulate her for being the only one to acknowledge that. But I responded and I said, I understand, but given that there are many direct selling companies out there where over 99% of people lose money, I don't think it's bad for someone to want to know if this is one of those companies or not. I understand that everyone has a different journey, but that doesn't mean taking precautions before joining a company means I have a bad money mindset. It just means I want to learn more about a company I know nothing about, so I can make an educated decision rather than one based on blind faith. She responded, but that's the point. It's about trusting your intuition. Everything in this life is based on faith. Then we just went on and on about intuition and how logic is a fallacy, in her opinion, which doesn't even make any sense, because in order for something to be a fallacy, it has to be a claim. It's not just you can say a word and that's a fallacy. It's so nonsensical. So yeah, it went nowhere. I also want to briefly mention how the notion that you should always listen to your intuition can be pretty harmful. Like, I understand that it's useful sometimes, but we can all benefit in pretty much every conversation from a little bit of nuance. I can be more nuanced with what I say. Like, we can all do it, okay? If you see a deer dash out in front of you when you're driving a car, many people's intuition is to swerve. Objectively, though, that is a bad reaction to have according to experts, okay? In that situation, I mean, sometimes you just have a gut reaction, you go with it without thinking because it's such kind of like a scary moment. But still, if the best thing to do in that situation, if you can, is to not listen to your intuition telling you to swerve, because that is not good. Some of y'all might remember me talking about how Aaliyah had planned to gift herself a catamaran yacht when she hit 682-3 in Enagic. I don't feel like she ever ended up doing that, because I think she would have posted about it on Instagram, and I haven't seen a picture of a yacht on her Instagram. Also, her and her fiance, they might be married at this point, I don't know. They seem to have had a sudden shift to like an off-grid type of the world as we know it is about to end belief. I don't know. On January 19th, her fiance Pat posted a video on Instagram with the caption, "The time has come to move to an area of self-sufficiency, self-sustainability, where permaculture is the new culture. The old technology systems are only used now to control and physiologically manipulate the flock with bias and algorithm-attuned conditioning." Sheep emoji. Money no longer serves a purpose on this new earth. It's time to come together and build a new world, a new community, integrating harmoniously with nature, not against it, as it has been reflected within our past. February 1st, he posted, and I'll just read some of it. "So stoked to be transitioning away from what we all knew to be the normal way of life, to now take on the challenges of self-reliability. Life as we know it is changing right before our eyes, and to think that life will ever return to what it once was is quite the naive, speculative, delusional assumption. Our current dependence on money, supermarkets, jobs, electricity, education, etc. are now redundant." That being said, Pat and Aaliyah did just go to Mexico, and I think they're in Oregon right now, so they're clearly not practicing this yet of not being reliant on money, jobs, electricity, transportation. But I feel like since they said that they're transitioning to that, it's probably indicative that they won't buy a yacht unless they just kind of, are picking and choosing what kind of transportation they want to rely on, what kind of money they want to rely on, whatever. But if they don't end up getting a catamaran yacht, don't worry, because Iris did a series of stories on her Instagram a little bit ago where she talked about her 5-year goals. One of them was to buy a catamaran yacht and a vacation in it annually, island hopping around the Bahamas. I cannot emphasize how comical I find it when people who are out here claiming to care about the environment and clearly doing things that demonstrate that they somewhat value the environment and sustainability, like, are also out here buying or planning to buy private jets or personal yachts. Like, it reminds me of Leonardo DiCaprio making some big speech at like some award show in maybe 2016 or something, but he got a lot of backlash for that because he had recently been spotted multiple times flying in private jets. Like, it's so hypocritical to sit here and lecture other people about sustainability when you're flying in private jets. And so, for example, like Iris says in this video.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about why Enagic today. Why have I personally chosen to work with Enagic? To sustainability. At this point in where we're at in the world, I think most people are concerned with leading a more sustainable lifestyle. At least my family and I are.
And also,
so Enagic's products help you to reduce any and all plastic consumption that you as a household or as an individual are consuming.
Private jets and yachts are just not things you can justify wanting to own if you actually care about being truly sustainable. You can't pretend that you are not the typical materialistic, consumeristic rich person when you have goals to buy a literal yacht that you're gonna park in the Bahamas for the majority of the year and then travel around from island to island to island for a couple months. Like, these people will go around with a superiority complex about the fact that they don't use plastic water bottles and then buy a yacht for their own personal use. That cancels out all the plastic bottles you didn't buy, so get off your high horse. The problem with criticizing someone for that, especially when they're in an MLM, is that they will always just think you're jealous. Always. You cannot criticize them without them thinking that you're doing so because you're jealous. That's the common rhetoric that is taught in MLMs. Part of me feels like maybe they think people are jealous of them because they want people to be jealous of them. They want that kind of validation that you might get from people being jealous of your life. Or they used to be jealous of people who are living the way they do now, and therefore they assume that everyone else is the same of them. I don't know. I mean, I get criticized all the time for things and have people disagree with me in comments, and I've never once thought a single one of them was jealous of me. Because I'm not in an MLM, that's probably why. And unfortunately for the jealousy argument, it doesn't work for me personally because I have never wanted to step foot on a yacht. I think sleeping on a boat would make me feel seasick. So it's not much of a dream of mine. I don't want to go on sailboats, yachts, cruise ships, never have been jealous of people who are going on them. It's just not my thing. So I also care about my environmental footprint and therefore don't have the desire to purchase something so unnecessary yet so unsustainable. Of course, everyone who makes efforts to be sustainable will also knowingly do things that they know aren't as sustainable as they could be. Like maybe somebody takes long showers and they know it's less sustainable than taking shorter showers. And I think to an extent that's okay. You know, you can care about the environment and still do things that you know are good for it. But when it comes to something so unnecessary, like purchasing and therefore supporting the production of large, enormous vehicles that require a lot of materials to build, a lot of fuel to power, even though they serve no important functional purpose in society other than to allow rich people to live lives of luxury, I don't think that fits with caring about sustainability at all. It's also not just yachts for the BAM folks. Like, I remember Richard, the tech guy, and his girlfriend at the time, who was well known in BAM because she already had a large following on social media, Claire Michelle, once talking about how they wanted to have one home in Hawaii and one home in California and have a private jet so their kids and them could travel back and forth between their two homes whenever they want. And I don't remember where they said that. I just wrote it down when I heard it. And also, they might have been on drugs when they said it, so I don't know how seriously they meant it. But again, they seem to be into sustainability, yet having a private jet to travel between homes thousands of miles apart from each other doesn't really make sense with that. In Iris's stories about her 5-year goals, she also mentioned wanting to be ranked 6A2-5 5 in Enagic and making $2 million a year after taxes between her and her partner, and be doing mission trips, implying that she's a Christian. And while I've never been religious, I can't off the top of my head literally think of Bible verses about greed and the love for money and material possessions. I'm not the gatekeeper of Christianity or what makes someone a follower of Jesus or whatever, but I feel like there are even many Christians that agree with me that it's a tad bit inconsistent to go around the planet teaching other people about the Bible and about Jesus on mission trips while ignoring the parts of it that don't fit up with the dream life that you want to have for yourself. Matthew 19:23. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Truly I tell you, it is hard for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of heaven." That's the verse I always think of when I see like these megachurch pastors, the televangelists, the Kenneth Copelands of the world, flying around in their private jets, showing off their multi-million-dollar mansions. It's a little contradictory. They'll sit there and accept money from their church members through monthly tithes. They don't forget about the part of the Bible that talks about tithing, but the part that talks about, the love for money being the root of many evils and whatever. Well, that part I guess we can overlook. Skip talking about that on mission trips. I wonder if Iris and her family will be using the yacht as transportation to and from her mission trip destinations. Imagine showing up in a personal yacht to some small village in a Caribbean island country to teach people about Jesus. Hi everyone, this is our yacht. It's a catamaran. What? You've never heard of a catamaran before? Oh my gosh, no way. All my friends have one. Yeah, they're actually not even that expensive either. This one was only $450K. Oh, wow, you only make $100 a month. Well, today is actually your really lucky day then, because I have an amazing business opportunity for you. How much you want to bet they're going to be trying to sell $5,000 conga machines to impoverish people on these mission trips? Next, I want to talk about criticism, because I think it's important to realize that it's not just a few select mean, hateful, jealous YouTubers like me who have been criticizing Breakaway movement and their practices and members and whatnot. These people do seem to receive a lot of criticism, unsupportiveness, and disapproval from people in their personal lives, and I believe on social media too. I had not only people who have just met the higher-ups, but also people who have been friends with the higher-ups, influencers who have interacted with the higher-ups, family members of the higher-ups reaching out to me after my video, thanking me for it. I'm obviously not going to name names of these people or which higher-ups they were talking about, but you have to be doing some pretty extreme stuff to have friends and family reaching out, thanking someone for making a video criticizing your group or your job or whatever. And you might think well, how do you know if these people were telling the truth? Well, it's I went to their Instagrams, they had pictures with these people. They had interactions with them that I could see, so I could confirm. But MLMs teach their members to cut out people in their lives that don't support them, because if they don't, then they're toxic and they are just too old-fashioned. They don't understand that online businesses are the future. They're trying to drag you down. They're jealous that you have the guts to take this risk and they don't. They're jealous of your potential and they don't want you to level up or whatever. I heard one girl who I didn't write down her name for whatever reason, but I heard one band member say, "It scares people when you're thinking outside the box like this. You'll ruffle some feathers." No one is scared of you starting your online business. Working online or from home is not that outside of the box in the US, and it wasn't before the pandemic either. I have an online business, YouTube, and it didn't scare anyone that I was starting a YouTube channel because it's outside of the box. It didn't ruffle any feathers, because making YouTube videos, despite how mean I am in all of them, is not viewed as unethical and predatory and a quick way to drain your bank account like working for an MLM company is. Something Macy has once said was, so much hard work, so many times putting myself out there, so much rejection, so many times people pointed and laughed, ha ha ha, I'm sure that happened, or talked badly about my work online to others. A woman on a March 30th call said She's probably talked to over 200 people about BAM and no more than 10 of them joined. That was in response to someone who said she posted about how she was in Breakaway movement in a private group, and 10 people left the group within the hour after she said that. In the BAM social media training video, Aaliyah makes it sound like she's received a lot of hate and criticism online and from people she knows in real life. I don't have a quote, that's just what I noted down when I watched that video. Unfortunately, there are a lot of different groups and even religions that make their followers believe that the reason there's so much pushback against their ideas and their teachings and why there's so many people skeptical of them or wanting to talk about them like how I am in this video, criticizing them, is because they have the truth and people can't accept that, or people don't want to accept that, or people don't like that their ideas are unconventional. It makes them uncomfortable. I'll tell you what, I don't sit here and read comments from people on my videos who disagree with me and think, oh, they know I have the truth, they just can't handle it, or what I'm saying, it just makes them uncomfortable so they don't want to accept it. No, people are naturally just gonna have different opinions than you and me and BAM. But when someone doesn't have a good response to the criticism they're receiving, they'll usually try to invalidate it in whatever way possible. You have these criticisms of me because you're not woke enough. You're not open-minded to different lifestyles or alternative views. You're a sheep. And because it can be difficult to reason with people who are in MLMs who have these type of mindsets, I think it's best to educate people on multi-level marketing before they get into it, before they get sucked into one, rather than trying to educate people once they're in one, because it's just, at that point, they've fallen victim to the cult-like influence that is common in MLMs, and it's so much more difficult because, in my opinion, MLMs purposely promote these sort of views onto their followers so that it keeps them in the MLM. That is one of the many reasons they are not good businesses. Next, I want to emphasize something that I didn't in the first video, and I think I could do a better job of pointing out in honestly every video that I make. I 100% realize that people are not all good or all bad. We can have good and bad traits. In fact, we all have good and bad traits. Many BAM members, particularly the higher ups, for the most part in these videos, unless I specify otherwise, when I'm talking about BAM members, I'm talking about higher ups. So many of the higher ups are vegan, and they say they're into sustainability and purchasing ethically made clothes and other items. And that makes people who are also into those things think that they must be good people who can be trusted and would never do or promote something that might be less than ethical. But you can have altruistic qualities and act selflessly in certain circumstances, but then also act selfishly at times and not care about how you might be negatively affecting other people through your actions. And a lack of nuance regarding that, which I've definitely unintentionally participated in, I think can be harmful when criticizing a person's actions. I'm sure that the majority of Breakaway members do care about the planet and animals and people, but I also think that money and the dream life is the primary motivating factor for the higher ups. And when those two things conflict, when the drive for money and the dream life conflicts with caring about people and your impact on people, planet, whatever, I think some of them tend to prioritize money and the dream life over anything else. Iris, for example, I'm sure she likely does to an extent care about the environment, and also does likely recognize that buying a personal yacht is not an action that's good for the environment. But going island hopping on a personal yacht with her family is part of her dream life, and so that is more important to her than being sustainable. Another thing is that in regards to bringing people into MLMs, I know that the higher ups know that most of the people in their downlines are not making that much, but they just view it as their downline not working hard enough and needing to work on their money mindset. They don't understand that the problem is with the MLM structure, not the people struggling in the MLM, because they see their own success and think that just anyone should be able to replicate it. They don't acknowledge any factors that have given them advantages, like being white, conventionally attractive, having prior knowledge of running online businesses, or being in other MLMs. And I don't think that people who are at the top of MLMs making a ton of money and are sitting there like, haha, I scammed so many people, I'm so proud of myself. they think that they're doing an act of service by recruiting people into a lucrative business opportunity in their minds. But then obviously sometimes they are only thinking about themselves, and that results in behavior that society generally deems as unethical. One woman who led a December 1st community call, who I haven't named, but she said Larissa is her advisor and she has met Larissa and Aaliyah. I don't think she's that high up though. She talked about when she first started with her Enagic business. She was teaching English as a second language to kids and would just make her students watch movies all the time so she could do the BAM trainings instead of her teaching job. And so she got fired because of that, which she said is awesome and perfect. It's better to get fired because then you can get unemployment. Like, this is a prime example of what MLMs do to people. Or I mean, maybe she was like this before. I guess I can't know for sure. But it's so selfish to not give a crap about these kids who you're being paid to teach English to, because you'd rather work on your side hustle and then just wait it out to get fired, because that also benefits you monetarily. The topic of her talk for this community call was leadership, which is just ironic. Like, I don't think she was being a very good leader for these kids. So overall, I just want to emphasize that having good qualities does not prevent someone from acting selfishly, being manipulative, being greedy, money hungry, spreading misinformation, being unethical or disingenuous, and vice versa. Being lying, manipulative, disingenuous, whatever, does not mean that somebody doesn't also have good qualities. So I have 2 more chapters in this video. First, I want to talk about the reality of sharing your life on social media, and then I just have a list of a bunch of short extra stuff that I couldn't fit into anywhere in this video for it to flow. I want y'all to know that posting constantly about your personal life and your travels and all that stuff for a job on social media is not necessarily the dream life. Like, an important aspect of many band members' selling strategies is presenting their lives as desirable on Instagram. But let me tell you, as someone who has vlogged, even though I didn't do it very much or for a very long time, and that is different from posting about your life on Instagram for sure, from my experience, and I guarantee many others experience this to an extent as well, it's not that much fun to put so much of your life online. Instead of going hiking and just enjoying the experience like you think you're going to be able to do all the time because of all this time, location, and financial freedom that you're going to have once you join BAM. When you go hiking, you're not usually going to be just present in the moment. You're going to be bringing along your camera. You're going to be constantly searching for the best, most aesthetic, photogenic places to take pictures. And then you're going to be taking a million of them so you can get the perfect one. You're going to be thinking of how to caption them, because when you're self-employed this way, you never clock out. You're always thinking of your business and getting ideas for it, and, you know, rehearsing what you want to say in some stories and what you're planning on posting, and thinking about how you want to edit your photos to look. So much of your life will start to revolve around what you're going to post on social media, because that's your job. You're no longer just living for yourself, because now you're planning your free time around what's going to make for the best pictures. You'll go to one beach over another because it's more aesthetic, one restaurant over another because it has better lighting. You'll no longer be authentically just doing what you love for fun. Most of it will have to include work, because now your life is your work. It's what you're sharing. So you'll mold your life around what looks best for Instagram so you can make sales. That's not the life most people want to live, but that is the reality of it that you only really come to realize once you're doing it. Like, there's downsides to every job or career. And, you know, I had previously asked a few people in BAM what the downsides of it were, and I only, noted down one person's response, but they said there literally weren't any. And that's not true. Like, you shouldn't trust these people. They're trying to sell their lifestyle to you, so it's probably not completely accurate, okay? If you're reaching out to somebody and they won't tell you a single bad thing about what you're reaching out about, don't trust them, in my opinion. Alright, now all the extra stuff, like just small little things that I can't fit anywhere else in the video. First, I want to talk about Google Trends. I wish I had thought of this for my last video, but it's a good way to see if public interest for a topic is increasing, decreasing, or staying pretty much the same. A lot of distributors of Enagic seem to think that the company is going to have some exponential growth any minute now. But if you look at Google Trends for Kangen Water and Enagic, there's not even linear growth. It's just pretty stagnant and has been for a decade. If you look at Breakaway movement though, that's been going steadily down in popularity since November 2019, which is like 2 to 3 months after it was created. I want to talk briefly about two people's experiences within Enagic. Neither of them were in BAM, so these experiences speak more to what like MLMs are like in general rather than BAM specifically. The first person who contacted me by email, her name is Georgia. She was in a group that she hasn't made public, but I'm pretty sure wasn't BAM based on what she said. But she told me, I watched your videos, and when I first started watching it, I found the Enagic video. I didn't agree with anything you said, but after coming out of my brainwashing and manipulation from my MLM and influencer entrepreneur experience, I see how damn important your content is. When I was 18 years old, I got into network marketing, and I was brainwashed into 7,000 euros, which is around 9,000 to 10,000 US dollars. That's about the cost of a trifecta. As a student with no job, I don't know how I managed to get so manipulated into the lies of abundance and freedom with this high-ticket MLM, but I'm ashamed but powered up to speak out about this. I lost not only money but my mental health. I was solo traveling to get away from my parents who were trying to tell me not to do this, and I was in the lowest time of my life. MLMs ruined my mental health, self-confidence, all because they make you feel like you failed or didn't put in enough effort, strategy, or reach out to enough people. It's ridiculous, and so many people are sucked into it. So she has a video on YouTube called My Multi-Level Marketing Experience, Interviews, and Real Raw Facts Around Network Marketing, which I'd recommend checking out, especially if you've been in Enagic or like BAM at a certain training platform, and you feel kind of alone in your experience with it. Let me tell you, you're not. There are a lot of people, not just in Enagic, but in so many MLMs who have similar experiences to Georgia, and if you've been in MLM, similar experiences to you. I promise I don't even have to know what your experience is like, because it's just, I've listened to so many stories from people who used to be in MLMs, and they're all so similar, but the problem is that a lot of people feel so ashamed and embarrassed and like they're a failure, and so they don't speak out about their MLMs, and that's a totally normal feeling to feel because that's what they teach. And it's all about the survival of the MLM, keeping people in the MLM, and then when you're out of the MLM, not talking negatively about it. That's why that happens. People feel ashamed because the MLMs want you to feel that way, so that they don't get any bad press. I spoke to another person who was in CEO movement, which is what Aaliyah was in before she created BAM. This person told me that her introduction to Enagic basically was when her partner at the time came across someone in CEO. The partner had no job at the time, while she was in school, pregnant, and working 3 jobs. So the partner joined CEO, and he purchased a trifecta for $10,000 on her credit card, while she thought that he was only going to be getting a KA for half that price. So then they were in the biz. Yay. He made one sale, which was to her parents, and some of the MLM stuff that he would use on her. He would bring up law of attraction and low vibration stuff to make her feel bad for questioning him about his spending on her credit card. He threatened to cut her out of his life if she didn't support him. When she would ask him to spend less on paid ads for the business, he would act like she didn't believe in him and she was the problem, regarding that. Some stuff he did related to the water. He once claimed that he had cancer and that the Kangen water helped it, even though that was a completely fabricated story. He did not have cancer, he had gastroesophageal reflux disease. Their son was born disabled, and the partner wanted to make a documentary on him, the son. And so he mixed breast milk with water and then would edit what he was filming about it to make it appear like Kangen water saved the kid's life. And she was not okay with that. And so I want to bring those up because it's really important to realize that these claims that you hear about the water are not necessarily 100% true. That's why anecdotes are not as trustworthy as actual scientific data. And then when it comes to how he is acting about the MLMs, I mean, he seems like he wasn't the greatest person before the MLM, but still, these MLMs make people, threaten to cut people out of their lives if they don't support them, or they'll always make the other person who's questioning their actions the bad person. That is what the companies kind of encourage people to do, kind of make people do, because it's like, this is commonplace among all MLMs. This is a consistent factor, a characteristic of all MLMs. This is not just like random people here and there. Like, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. This is why MLMs are not good, okay? Another thing this person had told me, which also is something that I believe was brought up in the Metro article, which, again, that article, I don't know if it's reliable, okay? But considering it's said in there, and then this person also knew about it, it's possible it's true, although okay. So Bam was teaching a polyamory class at their Bali retreat last year, apparently. Their retreat page doesn't mention that, so it's possible that it's not true, I guess. But if it is true, like, if you want to be polyamorous, I don't care, but maybe a business retreat isn't the best place to teach a class on polyamory. Like, business, private, personal life, why are they mixing like that? It's really strange. So I actually got a little confused between the retreats in 2020 because they had two. Well, they have websites for two. I don't know if they actually followed through with them. I can't remember because of COVID. Since they are COVID deniers, probably did. The one that I was thinking of, and the one that the Metro article makes it seem like the polyamory workshop is taking place in, is called the Vortex. It says it's a business mastery retreat, and it took place from March 2nd through the 9th. But then they also had another one that was May 18th through the 21st, also in Bali, also in 2020, but that one was less focused on business. So it would kind of, I guess, be slightly less weird for them to teach polyamory stuff at that one. But at the same time, Breakaway Movement is not a company that is about teaching people how to have good romantic relationships. It's about teaching people how to have businesses, basically, and sell products. I just think it's weird for a company to be teaching that unless that's what the company's purpose is. And I think this is one of the aspects of BAM that makes it seem so culty, is that, I think I mentioned this in the other video too, like, they talk about everything. They can't just stick to business and personal development. Like, it's, in a sense, they've turned everything into personal development. Like, they have influence over so many different aspects of their members' lives because the community calls are just talking about everything, every different little topic you could think of. Someone's talked about it, and it's like, I just don't think it's completely appropriate to be teaching about polyamory, if this is true, to be teaching about polyamory at what is supposed to be a business retreat. A quote from one of the higher-ups, Cassie, that I love, she in a March 9th community call said, "Even if I'm dying of thirst, I'm not gonna drink bottled water." And I just love that because it shows how extreme her views are regarding bottled water. Like, she's so against it that she would rather die than drink it, as if that would somehow be worse than death. Something that's sad but common to hear from MLMers is something Iris once said. Also, can I get an amen that I can work from inside my car while breastfeeding my baby? No. People who work normal jobs don't have to work while they're breastfeeding. How is that a good thing? Like, why can't you take a couple minutes off? One of my favorite quotes from Macy: "If someone's looking for a scam, they will find it. If someone's looking for an opportunity, they will find it." Well, I guess that means if you get an email from a Nigerian prince wanting to send you $7 million, it's only a scam if you think it is. I mean, I truly don't think a lot of these folks actually think logically about the things they say before they say them, because that is ridiculous. This whole rhetoric of, like, if whatever you're looking for, that's what you're gonna find. Like, there is objectivity to life, guys. Come on. Like, if you're looking for an opportunity, if someone sends you a phishing email and you click on a link, you did not get an opportunity. You're getting scammed. That is objective. Someone posted a poll on Instagram that said, "Are you drinking Kangen water?" 50% picked the option duh, and 50% picked the option no, I prefer the toxic tap. More evidence that they genuinely think that Kangen is the only healthy or non-toxic water that you can drink. Like, they only ever say how bad tap water is or how bad bottled water is. They don't even seem to know about water filtration. Just kidding, they obviously do. They weren't born yesterday, but I think they purposely avoid talking about it because they don't have a very good response to it. They can't make the same arguments because Enagic's machines only filter out one thing, chlorine. That's something I talked about in, I think, both my other videos, but I still am like, I see so many people being like, oh, this is just a really overpriced water filter. No, it's not. This is a water ionization machine. It ionizes the water, which does not make it more clean or less toxic. It has a filter in it, but that's not the main thing. The machine is not $5,000 because it filters chlorine. It comes with a filter. It is not a filter itself. Like my Brita filter produces cleaner water than Kangen, and that's not saying much because the bar is low. It only filters one thing. Like I think I'll hopefully be able to find the video I have of Aaliyah's filtration system in her Bali home. It's a ton of different stuff because she knows that the Kangen machine only filters one thing, so she has all these different devices for filtering the water. Tara once posted a poll that asked, how many of you work from home? And 50% picked the option yup, and 45% picked the option help, because everyone who doesn't work from home must have a truly terrible life, right? They really do think that. A lot of them, not all, but like that's something I talked about in my last video. They literally think that if you're not living exactly like they are, that your life is miserable. This is a post from Brianna that I love. She says, let's be clear, I'm not coming out here to self-promote or make money off anyone. And then in like a next thing she says, so with that being said, over the next 5 days, I will be coming on here sharing value centered around Kangen water and being an Enagic distributor. Also, if you're wanting more info around becoming a distributor and opening another stream of income for yourself, I'll be diving into that. It almost feels like satire. I mean, like, I'm not here to make money off you, but let me share with you this thing that will enable me to make money off you. Also, Brianna and Reba, and maybe some others, I've seen some lower downs, have started to get into something called Forex, which stands for foreign exchange trading. I really don't know much about it. It reminds me of cryptocurrency, which makes absolutely zero sense to me at all. But they have created a platform to help people, teach people how to do that, which they made mere months after getting into it themselves. Here's the Conscious Creators Ohana founder Ellie being extremely out of touch. She says, my top list of things that should be in every household: a K8 and a Nespa, Ukan turmeric supplements, all of those are Enagic products by the way, and an infrared sauna. She says, the price is nothing. It comes down to dollars a day for your health. The price of all those things is like $15,000 to $25,000 depending on which sauna you get. But yeah, just dollars a day. Everyone should have one. Almost half the world lives on less than $2.50 a day. Distributors often like to try to justify the expensive price of the machines, the most popular one in BAM being the K8, which costs $5,000. And I think that's pretty interesting because if they really cared about as many people drinking this water as possible, wouldn't they want it to be cheaper so it's more accessible for people instead of trying to justify the price as if that's how much it should be? You have people at the top of this company in the distributorship, thing, not people who actually like work for it, but like independent contractors for the company, making $80,000 a month for life, regardless of anything they do, because once they get a certain amount of sales and people under them with a certain amount of sales, they're making guaranteed income for life. $5,000, $25,000, $80,000 is the top one. Why is it more important that Enagic is giving out that amount of money to the already extremely wealthy distributors at the top than bringing that down a tiny bit, maybe only $60K a month, maybe $50K, so that they can make their products cheaper so more people can have access to them? If it's just such this amazing product, it's a medical product, it's so great, why would they not try to make it cheaper? Because the monetary incentive of how much money you can make if you get to the top is how they entice people to join. That's why it's a medical device being sold by independent contractors in a multi-level marketing company. They would make so many less sales and so much less money if it wasn't MLM. A multi-level marketing business structure allows for false claims to be made consistently, constantly, every single day. and the company's not liable. It's not their fault because they're not doing it. It's the independent contractors for them that are doing it. So they're the ones who are making the claims, and it's their fault basically. And that allows for the main selling points to be, this water does all these things that have never been actually proven by science, and you can make a ton of money by selling them. A post on the anti-MLM subreddit reads, I have a friend who started with BAM. She went to their retreat in Hawaii, and holy hell, it sounded so cultish. She is selling Kangen water, or more accurately, she purchased a machine and mentions it occasionally. Her Instagram bio keeps changing, but talks about being a health/life coach/mentor. It's all BS. She's claiming to be raking in the dough. She bragged about buying a last-minute airplane ticket with her earnings once. She flew to the Midwest, then took a quick mini road trip for Instagram purposes before hightailing it back home to make it to her regular 9-to-5. In this story, Clarice says she's been able to generate over $10K a month for the past 3 to 4 months that she's been taking a break. And I don't understand how these people can take a month or 2 or 3 or 4 months off and do nothing. I thought they were supposed to be coaching their downline. I would not be happy if I had just dropped $10,000. Most people dropping $10,000. They don't have $10,000. So I just dropped $10,000 that I don't have to join a business with the expectation that I'm going to be coached by someone so that I can make that money back. And they just decide to go offline for 50 days, go to Greece, gonna be in the Dominican Republic, no Wi-Fi. Someone left a comment on Aaliyah's Instagram post about medical medium. They say, the healthcare and research science system is flawed, absolutely, but medical training and rigorous science is still a better bet than snake oil. A plant-based diet is good for health and immunity, but the medical medium is making claims based on his connection to a divine source, and that is dangerous. What if a priest told you to eat a certain way based on what he says God has told him? Would you believe that? Promote veganism, that's beautiful, but snake oil like this is too far. Sad to see this from you, Aaliyah. You are better than this. Aaliyah's response to that person was, bye Sarah, thanks for dropping by and sharing your thoughts. Blessings to you, love. Feel free to leave. Alright, like, I clearly have nothing against being passive aggressive as I usually am in my videos, but like, I don't pretend to be this being of love and light, and I'm just so spiritual and have nothing but compassion for everybody. I would also never respond to somebody respectfully disagreeing with me like Sarah was and sharing their opinion by telling them bye. Feel free to leave. Like, some of these people are not as nice and sweet as they sometimes try to make themselves out to be. And I mean, I actually think that Aaliyah is one of the nicer ones, like, compared to some of the other higher ups. I would say from the stuff that I've shared in my videos, like Zoe, she was the one who said quite a few different things than the other one that were the most outrageous, I would say. And Tara, those two in particular have quite mean girl vibes and I'm better than you vibes. Like this post from Tara from within the past couple months, she says, getting money to work for me, stoked to be a few decades ahead of my fellow peers. I mean, be proud of your accomplishments in life, but to be excited that you're ahead of others doesn't make you seem like that good of a person. I mean, it shows that she's really out here comparing herself to other people, being glad that she's ahead of other people, thinking she's superior to everyday peasants like you and I. Well, not me, because I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own business. I make my own hours. I have passive income. I work from home. But I'm sure she still thinks she's superior to me. Anyways, it's fine. I'll cry myself to sleep every night thinking about it, just how jealous I am of her. Even though if I was really jealous of them and wanted their lives and wanted to be making as much money of them, I could have easily just bought a trifecta, climbed the Enagic ranks quickly, because I have a larger social media following than any of them did when they started. Look, for all you guys who watch my videos, I have no desire to become a salesperson. Even if I did want to be one, I wouldn't be doing it through an MLM and trying to take advantage of my followers who are in vulnerable places and flaunting my wealth and my life in order to entice y'all to make sales. I most definitely wouldn't be buying a yacht or talking about how happy I am to be decades ahead of all you guys. So that's all I have to say in the Breakaway movement. Unless something crazy interesting happens, I won't be doing any more videos on them, and I won't be doing any videos on any other Enagic Training platforms as of right now. I also don't plan to do any videos on any other MLMs. or just MLMs in general. I don't know, I've thought about it, but I don't think it's something that I'm gonna do. There's a lot of other great videos out there about MLMs though. So anyways, let me know your thoughts on the subject down below if you'd like. Thanks for watching.